There he is.
Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Oh, you might be on mute.
Yep, he is muted. Now he's
Hey,
on.
Marie, great to see you.
Great to see you. Thank you for joining us on this early morning. We know you're going to be on a couple of Sunday shows, so we're going to keep it short and sweet and get all your wisdom quickly. Let me introduce Congressman Khanna, who is ranking member on the House Armed Services Committee and also a leader on oversight. Most recently, you've heard a lot about him, right? He's leading the charge on the Epstein files, but also leading the charge on a War Powers Act, which would limit President Trump's ability to invade places, go to war, and all these things he seems to be fond of doing lately. So, with that, I thank you for being here, but I'd like to just get your overall perspective, Congressman Khanna, on what you think this objective really was in this war and what's really going on. And also, can you confirm Khomeini's dead?
Well, Marie, thank you for having me. You're such a great colleague, a great friend, and honored to be here. I wouldn't do this for anyone other than Marie, so I
Hey,
appreciate
come on,
it.
Congressman. I left a message for you too. Okay. No, thank you so
So,
much for joining us.
this has been Netanyahu's project for the last 30 years. This has been Lindsey Graham's project for the last 30 years. They want regime change in Iran. The problem is, and I have no special insight beyond the public reporting. It looks like Khamenei has been killed from all the public reporting. But the problem is that doesn't mean that the IRGC is done. I mean, obviously, the Assembly of Elders are going to pick the next in line. They already had done that. I mean, Khamenei was 86 years old. So they have a process for that. And the question for the United States is, are we going to have civil war in Iran? Are we going to have bloodshed there? How long are we going to have our presence there? It's not just troops on the ground. Are we going to have our aircraft carriers at billions of dollars of expense there? Are we going to have our troops at risk? But, Donald Trump ran in 2016 saying regime change wars were absolute failures. And he ran against people like Lindsey Graham, and he's just now adopted the Lindsey Graham foreign policy, which has failed in Iraq, even though Saddam Hussein was a terrible dictator, failed in Libya, even though Gaddafi was a terrible dictator, and from all indications, is not going to succeed in Iran.
Yeah, it appears so, right? And what's more worrisome, and I think what the American people want to know, Congressman, is so what's the end game here? Let's say that in fact Khomeini is dead. There's no one who has been designated to put him together. The insurgents, if you will, the activists on the ground that want some form of democracy or representative democracy are not organized enough, nor do they have a structure, nor do they have any infrastructure. And it sounds like the internet's still out. So who's going to take over? Like, do we have any guesses at all?
We don't. I mean, other than the process of the RGC is to have an assembly of experts that pick the next leader, which they have three people in line. But that person could be more repressive or authoritarian than even Khamenei. I mean, so it's not like we are saying, okay, we're going to send our military in to stand with the protesters and take on the IRGC in a bloody civil war. And the IRGC still has weapons. They still have the monopoly on force in Iran. And so the question is, it would be magical, maybe. I mean, I'd love for it to happen if suddenly the IRGC says, okay, the people we were killing, the protesters just 2 weeks ago, now we're going to work with them to build a new government. My guess is that that's not what's going to happen. What will happen is Donald Trump will say, oh, I took out the Ayatollah and declare victory. But what will be left in place is a brutal Iranian regime still, which is fighting with more violence in Iran and has destabilized the entire area. Now, that may be what Netanyahu wants, a destabilized, weaker Iran in the region, but that's not good for the Iranian people or for world peace or for America, which is now spending more money on our military there instead of jobs at home, seeing oil prices likely to rise with the Strait of Hormuz threatened, and not clear what the framework is going forward.
Yeah, it certainly is unclear and feels chaotic at the eye of the American public. But so legislation, right? You and Congressman Massey, who have partnered on Epstein files and other important pieces of legislation, are now putting forth a war powers resolution. Just touch on that and let us know if there is viability that will come to the floor this week.
It's going to come to the floor. It's going to come on Thursday. It's going to be as consequential a vote as the war in Iraq was.
Yeah.
And, you know, every Democrat is going to have a choice. Are they going to vote with Lindsey Graham, who doesn't believe in war powers? He said today on Meet the Press, I believe that the war powers are unconstitutional. And he's care-led for every war. At least he's consistent. You know, he was in for Iraq. He was for Libya. He was for Afghanistan. Makes total sense that he's for this. What I don't understand is how any Democrat can vote for this. I mean, they are literally voting with Lindsey Graham and a neocon foreign policy. And so if we can hold our 212, and that there are a few on the fence right now, people like Gottheimer and Moskowitz in Florida, if we can hold our 212, then there are a few Republicans we've got to pick off. There's a chance. I'd say it's 40-60 to pass, but this is the most consequential vote, and we need to do all of our diplomacy that we can and outreach that we can, especially to our side, to hold our side.
Right, right. And so let's say that Moskowitz and Gottheimer and whoever else doesn't vote with the Democrats. You think you have, what would that be, 3 or 4? You would need 3 or 4 Republicans you would need numerically?
You would then need 7 or 8, and I don't think we have that.
Yeah.
So we need all 212, and then we've got to get 2 more Republicans. That's how we did the Epstein Transparency Act.
Right.
So it's a heavy lift. But at the very least, I would like the Democrats to be unified in opposing this, so that it's clear it's a Republican war.
Right.
And you know, it's mind-boggling to me that we still have some Republicans defecting. I'm also so annoyed by some of these statements from Democrats, which start out with every rationale for potentially having a regime change war, and then just saying, well, they didn't come to Congress, so I'm against it procedurally. No, how about being against it substantively? How about saying that the American people are done with these wars overseas and want our money going to our jobs and our healthcare?
Right. And, you know, to that end, what I'd like to ask you is, in Congress right now, let's say war powers, again, you said put 40-60 on it, may not pass. What else can be done, Ro, that may be either procedural, some other form of pressure that you may be like plan B? Where are we at with that?
Well, we could obviously limit the funding. I mean, that's the ultimate control that Congress has. That's how we stopped Vietnam ultimately, which was that we could just say we're not going to appropriate money for this kind of action. But that's harder than the war powers resolution. I mean, Donald Trump wants $1.5 trillion for the military. He wants to take a $1 trillion budget and basically increase it by 50% when the Pentagon budget is already 56% of our spending.
And one could say that this is not necessarily budgeted money we have allotted to this new war in Iran, right? So how much are we spending right now that was not necessarily budgeted in the form that it's taken?
Well, that's one thing I'm going to ask in the next defense budget, is to understand from the Pentagon exactly how much is the cost of this. And the cost is not just our fighter jets going over Iran and the ammunition we're unloading. It's also the fact that we're sending a second aircraft carrier there. That's very expensive. I mean, my guess is it's billions of dollars of expense that could have gone to build housing. That could have gone to provide everyone with childcare in this country. That could have gone to provide healthcare to the people who are losing healthcare. So, you know, that's what we have to look at this. We've got a ICE agency that has gone rogue, that is taking $75 billion. We've got a war that is rogue, that is taking billions of dollars. And then we've got people losing healthcare. We've got people losing childcare. We've got people who can't afford housing. And that's why the American people are so upset.
Right. Well, we asked you for 6 and we took 8. So I know you got to get back to the Sunday show. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll check back in with you soon. Be safe.
Thank you for your leadership, Marie. And you got a great group there. I know many of them, and I appreciate all of your voice. And I do believe there's an emerging progressive consensus in this country of common sense and against militarism, for jobs, for healthcare, for childcare. So I appreciate your work on that.